best place to start is the beginning. And my understanding is that the family originated as the Mendenhalls, and they came from a little village known as Mendenhall in Suffolkshire, England. And a number of the brothers and basically some of the siblings migrated as early as 1683 to southeastern Pennsylvania, of course through Philadelphia, like so many others had before them. And the family had many of those brothers and sisters settled in Chester County, Pennsylvania, just west of Philadelphia. And our particular line of Mendenhalls descends down from John Mendenhall, or Mendenhall, the immigrant who came over in 1683 with his siblings. And he settled, once again in Chester County, Pennsylvania, in Calm Township, not more than 38 miles west of Philadelphia. And he had a son named Aaron, who married a lady named Rose Pearson. And they built a small stone house in Calm Township, in what is presently Downingtown, Pennsylvania, which is still standing. They had a child named James Mendenhall. And that's really where our part of the story gets started. James Mendenhall was a young, aspiring miller. And we believe that he actually constructed a mill not far away from his parents' home, which eventually, I believe, became his home. Well, anyhow, there were a number of pushes and pulls. Things pulling him here and pushing him away from Pennsylvania. Of course, there's the issue of taxation. Keep in mind that things were becoming quite crowded in this area of Pennsylvania, with all the immigrants, coming in from through Philadelphia, and the real estate market was competitive. The prices of property went up, and with this influx of new settlers, improvements in infrastructure were necessary. You need new bridges, you need new roads. Of course, that means taxes. And people who are not used to being taxed very much, who all of a sudden have to pay taxes, they're usually not too keen on that kind of thing. Now, and also, keep in mind, North Carolina had an abundance of inexpensive property. There were these large royal land grants that were given to people such as Earl Granville and McCulloch, and they were basically selling property shillings on the acre, where they would be paying pounds on the acre or more in Pennsylvania. So long story short, sometime between 1759 and 1762, James made his way down the Great Wagon Road, as it's often known, to this area of North Carolina, which was known as Deep River. And we know that as early as 1765, he built a small house on the southern bluff of a river valley for Deep River, just across the street from the house here, a little ways. And he built a sawmill for cutting wood, of course, a grist mill for grinding grain. And he carried on a successful business for some time. But by 1775, he was struck by wanderlust once again, and he left with his two oldest sons and his wife Hannah and made their way south to Wrightsboro, Georgia, this relatively new Quaker meeting in what is now Wilkes County, Georgia. And he left the property, his estate, to his son George Mendenhall. And George carried on with the operation of the mills quite successfully. But according to Richard Mendenhall's granddaughter, Mary Mendenhall Hobbs, George decided to open an inn. And according to Mary, his efforts were derailed, so to speak, when a rival innkeeper west of here, in what is now High Point, successfully convinced the Guilford County Commissioners to reroute the road from the river valley right in front of his home to where Main Street, Jamestown is today. And so as the story is told, George was undeterred. So he came over here and bought property on either side of the new Salisbury Stagecoach Road, and he laid out a town. And he laid it out much like the great Quaker William Penn had done in Philadelphia, with roads perpendicular to each other, creating basically a grid work with these different town blocks spreading out. And he named the town for his father James, who had left for Georgia, Jamestown. And that's basically the origins of the town of Jamestown.